the right opportunity to do this. So, hi YouTube. This is my first time ever going live on this July channel. This is going to be exciting. So, um, it just happened to be a good time for me. Everything is perfect to answer a question or respond to a comment rather that I got on a video. Let me see, what was the video? Is everything in my life a result of manifesting? My take on Neville Goddard's teachings. Um, Let me make sure that was right. So anyway, guys, how are you today? I hope some people watch. Hi, Phases of Faith. How are you? I hope this is a subject that interests you. Um, I I just got a comment. Someone was saying something about tarot, and I actually became certified in a lot of that type of thing dealing with, spirituality. Um and it's not what people think. So I'm here to explain it. You doing good? Okay, it's good to hear. I want to kind of like debunk some things and I want to help people to understand some things that they probably never even realized or never even thought of. Um, but let me read the comment first. The comment is um go back. Comments. Okay. I have a friend that is into tarot reading and it helps her, but I'm not a believer in it as such. I've noticed that people like my friend can only make predictions, but they never predict anything concrete that can be measured. They just give vague statements that are far too general to prove anything. Isn't that's a great comment? And I know a lot of people notice that. I notice it. Please forgive me, my son. He is always loud every time I decide to get on the camera. He's he has Down syndrome, so he can get pretty loud sometimes. So please forgive me. Um, Now, as far as tarot is concerned, I even someone told me that I should do tarot readings, right? So I have some cards that are even right here, but I don't really use them. I don't need them. None of us really, to be honest, none of us really need them, and I'm going to explain why. But I'm not knocking anyone who does it. As a matter of fact, when people tell me about readings that come from tarot, I find them pretty interesting. So here's my take on all of it, right? We all have a connection to our creator. We all have a connection. It's like a super highway, right? Let's just say our creator is the brain and the superhighway is the spine, and we are all the cells that come from, you know well, not cells, but like, so the brain, the spine, right? And then you have the nerves, the nervous system that carries everything, all the information to other parts of the body, right? So that's who we all are, and we all get the same information. We just don't realize it. Everybody interprets the information differently that they get from the creator. Some of us even look at the Bible as a guide, or the book that fell out of the sky that everybody wishes had the answers to everything. That's what some people think of the Bible. What I think is that the answers that we all want that fell out of the sky are us. We are the sky. We have everything in our blueprints, in our DNA. The way to access it, the way you figure out all of this, is to clear your mind of beliefs that limit you in understanding your connection to your creator. So even before I left the religion, right, I always had this real strong connection to what some of us may still call Jehovah. As a matter of fact, I still use that name because I have two children, and when I pray with them, I pray with them in Jehovah's name. I haven't changed that for them. And I can get into that in another video, why to me that doesn't block our blessings, because we are still receiving blessings. As a matter of fact, you guys, when I was in the religion, I was disfellowshipped twice. I was reproved a couple times, about 3 times. Um, Still was very close to Jehovah. I never let that make me feel as if I was less than. I knew, the reasons for why they had to expel me the way they did. And I accepted them because I knew that I was doing things that wasn't in accordance, with the religion, right? So it was like, okay, I'll accept my medicine. But I never stopped communicating with God. In the same way now to this day, I never stopped communicating with God. We all can communicate with our creator. No one can take that away from you. Everyone can pray and have their prayers heard. As long as they are a living, breathing soul, they can pray and have their prayers heard. So here's the thing about what some people call, being psychic, the whole tarot community, even like predictions or whatever, right? All of that is something that comes from being able to understand your ability to see things about other people and the world around you. All of us can do it, but all of us don't look at it that way. Let me see if I can think of a perfect example. Usually, we lean on our 5 senses and our ability to, you know, understand what we know a person to be. Like, I know their personality. I can just about predict what they're going to say or what they're thinking, right? But when you have like a connection with a person, like it starts, the easiest way to describe this is at home in the family. It starts in the home where you have that connection with your parents, your siblings, right? You have a connection with each of them, and you can read what they're feeling or thinking based off of the signals or the energy that they're giving off. And it doesn't even always have to be body language. It doesn't always have to be body language. You just know exactly where they're going in their minds because you're used to who they are. And a lot of times you have this data in your mind that, like, I guess your mind pulls files on what this person typically does, right? So you understand what route they're going to go if something happens, if they're going to get angry, if they're going to get sad, if they're going to apologize, if they're not. You know the kind of person they are. It gets to the point where you don't even need to guess. You automatically know what's going to happen next, right? That's very similar to how everything else works. It's just a more keen way of looking at it. We also have the ability to see pictures, but we're not taught this. You may daydream, you may experience something that's called deja vu. You might have dreams in your sleep. You might have a thought that comes to mind, and then later that thought comes to fruition. You might be thinking of someone, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, that person pops up in your reality in some way, either by a phone call or you see them, on the street or in the store or whatever, right? Those are all based off of energetic connections. Again, we're all connected. We're all connected through that information superhighway, which is the spine, which connects us to the brain, which is the creator. Since we're all connected, we all have the ability, we all have access to that information, but people don't always acknowledge it as such. Being that, as it may, when it comes to doing readings for people, um, the tarot cards are a guide. They are merely a guide to help you pick a subject, to choose something, and then speak on it. Most readings, the ones that are done accurately, come from the permission that was given to the reader to have a look into that person's like data, so to speak, pull the files, so to speak, right? And then read them off to them. So, couple things. We all have free will. Let's see, being raised as children, so we're taught. Yes, that those are demonic, right? Exactly. It's so crazy. I'm gonna explain that too. But like, so you pull the files. You can see. You actually can like see pictures or objects, or like a little thought may come to mind or a song may come to mind. What comes to mind is never a coincidence. It's never a coincidence. Everybody who's listening to this can relate to the fact that you have things that come to mind that you think are a coincidence, and then something in harmony with that coincidence actually comes to fruition. It's not a coincidence. It's because I'm exposing the tangible part of the whole psychic world, right? It's literally all about our electromagnetic connections to each other and to our creator. Um, Even though things are wireless in our day and age, there are still huge cables in the bottoms of the oceans that transmit electrical wires from place to place so that our wireless world can exist. Right? Remember, you guys, for those of us who grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses, we were always taught that all technology is based off of the human body, right? So you have the computer, which is imitating the brain, right? You have the camera that imitates the eyes. You also have this wireless technology that imitates the human ability to have thoughts, to think, and to communicate between other humans without the use of such things as a telephone or a text message. That comes from imitation of our own unique abilities. Other stories that people can relate to, um, moms knowing something's wrong, get this weird feeling, and then all of a sudden they get a phone call that something happened to their child, right? Something like that. Um, Lots and lots of people, especially Jehovah's Witnesses, can attest to the fact that they've had things happen to them that they cannot explain in accordance to what the Bible says or what the religion says. Having a dream about something that later came true. How did you know that? How were you able to have a dream about something that you really didn't know anything about and then later it came true? All of this has to do with our senses that go beyond sight, smell, speaking, hearing, and touch. we have senses beyond that. Just like we have and in the Watchtower and Awake, it'll tell you that you have senses that help you to know what time it is. You have an internal clock. That's another sense. We'll call those a sixth sense because that's what people mean when they say that. Part of our limiting beliefs, especially in religion, is that there is no such thing as a sixth sense because a sixth sense is demonic. Well, there are so many explanations for things that are um, put in the Bible and in religion, as you all know anyway, that keep us under control, right? Phases of faith. It's a design to keep us under control. And it's not just religion. It's more than just religion. What do they teach in the faith of Jehovah's Witnesses? That you have the commercial system, the political system, the religious system. Any and all of that is all designed to keep you under control, to trick you into thinking that you don't have access to all of that super human, supernatural ability that is yours, that you were born with, that came from your creator, and your creator giving you the connection to it, right? Or him, or whatever you want to call it. When I was a child, I had that connection. I was too young to really understand the religion and what my parents were teaching me, but I had a connection with, let's just say, for the sake of old times, right? Let's just say Jehovah. When I was that age, when I was like really young, like preschool age, I spoke to God. I spoke to God. I had all these little abilities that after doing some research, I learned that it's something called synesthesia that we all have as babies, where there are connections in our brains that don't separate yet, and they separate as we get older. Excuse me. Those connections separate as we get older, but while they're still connected, they cause you to have all these extra abilities, which, if some people's connections never separate and they remain that way, it makes them quite artistic. There are people who have synesthesia. If you just look it up, you can Google famous people with synesthesia. They are very, very talented. Let's see. Since I was a kid, I had a connection, and I just know. Uh oh. I just know being a jerk, his witnesses wasn't for me. Yeah. Um. So let's see. Those that look up synesthesia. You got to look that up. It's really interesting. Do Google talk to, if you don't know how to spell it, because it's probably gonna be hard for you to come back in this video and find it. But it's SYNETH. Wait, synesthesia. Yeah, SYNESTHESIA. That's synesthesia. There's a really good um, movie that was like a PBS documentary. It's a couple of them, but there was one in particular that I really loved that talked about the babies. I think it's called, what is it called? Babies, the mind of babies, or something of babies. And so it talks about those connections, like when a baby gets startled, right? Their connections are not separated. So they have this thing where they not only hear the sound, but they feel the sound all the way in their fingertips. And they do this when they get startled. The same way when music is on and it's really, really loud and you can feel the bass in your heart. Those types of connections. So it's not absurd or out of the question to know that, these things actually exist within us. So, and then getting deeper into it, when I say that there are pictures that you can see, like I've been trained and certified to understand my abilities. I didn't get into that because it was something that was so mystical to me, had me curious, and I just wanted to see what was going on. No, it drew me in because I had been praying. I had literally been praying to Jehovah while still a witness. I have been praying to Jehovah for all sorts of um, signs for him to lead me in the way in which I would be doing his will. All I cared to do was his will. The full time from when I was old enough to think for myself all the way to today, witness or not witness. When I was going through some really hard times in my life and I didn't know where my next move I would make would come from, didn't really have any resources, didn't have anything, anyone to lean on but Jehovah. I said to Jehovah that I just want to do your will, whatever that is for me and for my two boys. And just guide me, please. And so you guys know that no one can tell you what feels good internally or what feels right when you feel that you are being led by God. No one can dispute that. That's the same as someone who wants to be argumentative and come to you and tell you, "Oh, I know you felt this or you were thinking that or you was feeling this," and they're forcing their opinions on you and their assumptions on you. And then when they're way off, it just makes you feel some kind of way because it's like, how are you going to be able to tell me how I'm feeling? Right. So, and I'm sure all of us have had to deal with that. But anyway, the way I found like the program that I took to get certified in energy healing was just following my gut feelings, or I'll call it my intuition. And it was a program that started talking about the different senses or the different types of, or no, the different categories of like being psychic. And it wasn't something like I would have scrolled past it because I still didn't really believe in that. I knew it was kind of like for me, I still kind of thought that was demonic too. Myself, I thought it was, right? But then when I saw before having to really click on it, but it just had like the little advertisement there, it talked about all the little different things. And I'm like, that's all of that is common. Like we all experience those things. And so I said, you know, I'm going to take a look at this little free webinar. And it just like truly explained my life and things that I could relate to, things that everybody can relate to, especially people who are, um, more sensitive to our, you know, our energy. One of the things that we all can relate to is like if you're around people and you just don't feel right, like something just doesn't feel good, right? And it makes you almost want to just like close up in a little shell. And you're like, I don't want to be around this energy. I need to go somewhere else. Or maybe I need to leave this gathering or this party or this, I don't know, work, anything, right? Like, take for instance 9/11. 9/11. I thought that it was common sense. I thought that it was common sense that if you are at work and everybody in the break room before clocking in is seeing planes fly into tall buildings in New York City, that maybe you should get out of the tall building you're in Chicago, just in case. I thought that was common sense, right? Everybody was like, I wonder if they're going to let us go home. Are you crazy? Are you going to allow your life to be in the hands of someone who only gives you a check but cannot guarantee your life? Child, young man, y'all, I got my stuff and I got the heck up out of there. And sure enough, later I heard that there was a plane coming toward the Sears Tower after the fact. My place of employment was exactly next door to the Sears Tower, 175 West Jackson. So, like, I don't know. Some things are common sense, and then some things you just get this internal feeling about, right? I know that was an extreme example, but I use that example because I want to appeal to your senses and help you to see that, yes, your internal um, alert or alarm system usually will tell you when something is a good idea or not, or if something resonates with your energy or not, right? So when I started learning that all of these things that we were already doing and used to, and sometimes practicing or capable of, is a part of who we were. Hey, Keith, what's going on? um Already a part of who we were. It was like, oh my gosh, this it's just explaining everything. You guys, when I started taking that certification course, I was still, going to the Kingdom Hall and all that kind of stuff, right? But I started taking it and I'm like, I'm just going to keep this to myself. But toward the middle of the course, because I did that course for like 2 years. Toward the middle of the course, I realized that I no longer wanted to pretend to be, wholeheartedly serving in the religion the way they require you to do. So I decided to disassociate myself. I didn't even really give them an explanation other than the fact that I choose to worship Jehovah in a different way. I have graduated from worshiping in that way. And now I'm going to worship in my own way. I love you guys. Goodbye. For the most part, that was the same explanation I gave to my family because I didn't want to stumble anybody. I told them, you just keep serving Jehovah the way you know is best, and understand that I have graduated from that. I've chosen to serve Jehovah in my own way. I love you guys. Don't ever worry about me. And always know that Jehovah will always protect you. And never worry about me. I didn't really get into it with them about how everybody, we all have free will. We can all choose to serve in the way in which we choose to serve. We will never break our connections when we do, because we all know that Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in that. Jehovah's Witnesses feel, I'm looking at the time. Jehovah's Witnesses feel that only they are the ones who have a real approved connection. Everybody has that connection. We're all connected to that, to that, to the creator, to that brain. For those who, are just joining or whatever, I was saying that, the creator is like the brain, the spine is like the superhighway where transmissions come from the brain. And we are all the different various parts of the body that receive through the nervous system all of that communication. If it weren't for that, none of us would be walking, breathing, living. None of us would wake up. As long as you have the ability to do any of that, you are still connected. And I mentioned in another video that I did, I think it was like a Facebook Live or whatever, like even beyond that, you're still connected, which is why I never mourned my parents the way everybody thought that I would mourn my parents, because they have just transitioned. I no longer believe in the resurrection in the way that the Bible teaches. you know. I still, when I think of my parents, I have happy thoughts. I don't mourn. I miss their presence in the physical reality, but, and sometimes not even that. And the other thing about that is I dream about them a lot. They come to me in my dreams. I'll have to save that for another video about dreaming and all that kind of stuff, but like everything is a reality. What part of the reality do you want to be, to participate in? Which do you want to be a part of? Because it's all reality. So, going back to that certification course that I took, and I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. I took a course with Mind Valley, and in the Mind Valley course, that's where I learned about the pictures. I learned about the pictures, in that how we all have like our energy protective barrier that keeps us safe, right? Which is called the aura. And I use this illustration all the time to help people to understand your aura. Some people can see it, some people can't, but all of us can feel it. Um, like, I remember living in Chicago, I got my chain snatched right off of my neck. And I was probably a teenager. And it was the most uncomfortable feeling for a long time. I was uncomfortable in public where anyone would like walk toward me. I felt like they were getting too close. So we all have a barrier, right? We all have our little personal proximity that once someone invades that space, you either pull back or you ask them to push back. You know how you got people who want to talk all in your face and you're like, look, you don't have to be that close to me, right? When they are too close to you, it's because they have invaded that barrier, and it makes you just as uncomfortable as if someone were touching your skin. And you're like, hey, you don't put your hands on me. Like, I don't even know you, right? So if they walk up and they're too close, then you feel your aura being, you know, and like invaded. You're welcome, Phases of Faith. Um, you're so welcome. So that's your aura, and you can always feel it no matter what. If you're standing in line in a store, you get so uncomfortable when somebody is behind you, especially if they're too close. Even if they're not too close, the reasons that you're uncomfortable when they're standing behind you is psychic reasons. You don't want them reading you. How many of you feel uncomfortable when you're in a line and you're like, oh my God, they're probably looking at the back of me? And they're probably like, then you start judging yourself, like, what am I wearing? Did I put lotion on my feet and I got my sandals on? Or how does my hair look from the back? Are these clothes fitting right? Or anything like that. And it can be anything. It can be, are they judging what I have on the, what is it called? The belt, the when you put your groceries up on the little thing, and the people behind you are looking at your stuff, and it's like, man, mind your business now. Just anything. Like, when someone is behind you, a certain space behind you, they can literally start to feel your thoughts and know your thoughts, and you know it, and it's why you get uncomfortable, because you don't want anybody reading your thoughts, and you don't even recognize it. You just know that you don't like it. um but again, back to the aura. The aura has pictures, invisible pictures. Sometimes you wear them on your sleeve by the way you carry yourself. Other times people can just tell because they know how to read in between the lines, because we are all psychic. So the aura shows a lot about you. It can show if you are someone who carries a lot of trauma. The aura can show if you are someone who is confident or if you are someone who is insecure. The aura can show if you're someone who are uncomfortable around a lot of people. It can show a lot of different things. This is what you are picking up on people's aura, not just because you are good at reading people, which is true, but you're able to see these pictures even though you're not describing it. Yeah, you said that. So even though you may not describe it that way, you're literally seeing pictures in your mind that are making you come to these conclusions. These are pictures that the person, their energy just shouts, screams forth, just everywhere they go. The pictures come before they do. The pictures enter the room before they do. Um, so once you recognize that that's kind of like how things work, how things go, you can start to actually, with intention, start to look at the pictures. And even though I'm speaking in a way that may seem hypothetical, I'm doing it in that way to help everybody to understand how to make sense of this and how it's, to turn it into from a scary thing to something they can touch, feel, like tangible, something they can understand, and take all the demonizing out of it because it has nothing to do with any of that. And just real quick, demonizing and, Satan and all that kind of stuff is all a matter of what you fear. If you fear it, take a dog, for example. If you fear the dog will proceed to intimidate you. Whether these things are real or not, which is highly up for debate with some people, as far as, the whole um, angel of Satan and his demons and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people just look at it as, hey, that's a part of us. Like, how back in the old days, you'll see the cartoons where you had an angel on the right and a demon on the left, right? Um, that's how some people look at it. Like, it's a way of us separating our thoughts and our intentions. So, um, when you give way to fear then kind of forfeits your free will. I hope that makes sense. Fear forfeits your free will. You're now giving permission to something or someone else to be your um, thoughts and plant thoughts in your mind, or to think for you when you really should just be thinking for yourself. And it was funny because I just shared a scripture with my son earlier today. It was a scripture in Psalms chapter 34 about how, you know, um, that angel is always protecting you as long as you. I forgot the scripture. Let me see. But basically, it's all about, what you put faith in. If you have faith, that is enough protection for you. It's Psalm 34, 6 and 7. The lowly one called, Jehovah heard. He saved him from all his distresses. The angel of Jehovah camps all around those fearing him, and he rescues them. I'm a firm believer in affirmations. I feel that manifesting is the exact same as asking in faith. when you're praying and then allowing and waiting for that prayer to be answered without trying to force anything. There's nothing you can do to make that prayer better or not, but just kind of have faith and leave it in God's hands and step out of the way and have faith that that's going to happen. And so those scriptures, those those have governed my life ever since what, in my 20s, maybe in my 20s. So for at least a minimum of 20 years, almost 30 years now, those scriptures have governed my life. And that's how I've always been able to be fearless in the face of disfellowshipping and all of that. Not that I wanted to be disfellowshipped, but life just had a way when it comes to people like me who know how to think for themselves and don't give a you know what about other people and their opinions. As long as you're not doing anything to harm the next person, I really didn't care about. Like the brothers used to, I would always find myself saying to the brothers in the back room, I used to say, Jehovah knows and he's never late. So he knows and understands me. So, when they would ask me, are you okay with this decision? Jehovah knows. So if this is the decision that is rendered, then I'm okay with it. I'm not looking at you men as someone who is governing my life. So, and to be honest, they were just a middleman. It was me and Jehovah. It had nothing to do with them. They used to kill me thinking that they were like, they would just insert themselves. And it's like, oh my God, get over yourself. I had a problem. I had a problem. I had a problem with the brothers because they didn't, I knew something was wrong. I knew stuff was wrong because of the way they did me and my marriage. And when I would actually literally come to them for help, and I'm like, you know what? You, I'm expecting things from you that I really should just wait on Jehovah for because they were never able to deliver anything. You know what? I don't want to bash them. Even now, like, I almost feel like the abuse of the cult still has a tight grip on my neck where I wouldn't even want to speak bad about the brothers as if I'm still within the organization. And it's not that I don't like really speaking bad about anybody, but I just want to give you guys my truth. I want to give you guys some truths and I want to give you my truth, what I've experienced. So, there are a lot of people who don't know the things that we know, but there are a lot of people in there who do know the real truth. It's so funny because one of my mentors taught me that when you channel, you start to kind of like let air up, like you start burping because you're channeling information from the spirit realm and it's clearing out energy out of your body. It's so funny. Um, so yeah, but guys, like, oh, let me move this out the way. Yep. So it's so much, like I can go on and on and on, but I gotta break up videos and subjects. So the pictures, tarot readers are able to see with their mind's eye. There are so many scriptures that describe the truth about who we truly are as humans, but there are also scriptures that are implanted in this so-called book of God that helps to maintain the control of the masses. So that book, the Bible, I no longer view it the way I did growing up. There are a lot of great proverbial things in there. The scripture that I shared with you in Psalms that I talked about with my son, I look at those as very powerful affirmations to help me manifest. But I hope I answered the question about tarot and how basically you've given them permission to have a look into your life. You still have free will. You may make a decision based off of what you reflected and they saw. And now you have the free will to change it if you don't like that course. Because no one lives your life but you. If a doctor says, look, you're in danger of taking years off of your life because of your weight, if you lose some weight, you'll live longer. Wouldn't that cause you to change some things about the way you live your life? So the same thing happens when a person gives you a reading. They're merely reading what they see in you. And like I said earlier, again, this is you know, the basic way. There's really, it is truly supernatural. It's beyond natural when you are looking into a person's pictures and you can really see things. It's like you enter a dream state and you really start to see real pictures, like a movie playing. And when you see that movie playing, the things that you see are things that are going to be interpreted by the reader in a way that can cause them to deliver a message. So if I'm reading someone and another person is reading someone, we are going to give them the same conclusion, but we may have seen two different things, two different messages, but the messages are the same. So if I see something that makes me say, oh, yeah, you don't need to move into another state at this time, you need to stay where you're living, and another person says the same thing, maybe they saw a broken down car, right? And the broken down car was their way of, or the message that was given to them to let that person know that you don't have the means. And then maybe I might see something as, oh, you're going to lose your job. I could see something like a boss pointing their finger at you or something weird like that, right? It's just crazy, right? The things that you see. And then the message that I receive is the same. No, you don't need to. Now is not a good time because you don't have the means. So it's stuff like that. And that's why I say the pictures in the tarot cards are just a guide, because it's still going to give you the same message for that person. And a lot of messages are general for all of us. Um, Things that are healthy for humans to hear mentally for our mental health um, is usually, good for a large population, if not the whole population. So a lot of people are gonna relate to it, be able to relate to it. It's gonna resonate with them. Um, yeah. So people do general readings, and then sometimes they do readings just for a specific person. Some of them are not that secure in their picture reading, so they may be afraid to give you like very direct, specific messages because they aren't sure. They don't trust themselves when they get a message. I was that way. I was doing some work with some friends of mine. We were doing some work together, right? And um, we were like channeling messages together, again, from that through the superhighway from the major brain, because we're all connected. That means we all have access to the same information. I was doing some channeling with some friends, and I told her about 3 or 4 objects that I saw in relation to one of the girls. And I was like, I think I forgot what the fourth object was. I was like, I know I saw these three things, but the fourth one I forgot. If it comes back to me, I'll tell you. And so she was like, she told me that oh God, what did she say? Oh, she said, oh no, okay. I remembered that it was a tree. I said I saw a tree. But at the time I was like insecure to tell her that what I really saw was the tree of life, because I had a couple days prior had been studying about the tree of life because of something dealing with my own personal situation. So I was like doing some research on the tree of life, right? So when a tree came to me for her, again, it was actually the tree of life, but I was feeling like, no, maybe that's just my own subconscious mind just telling me tree of life, because I was doing research on that. So I'm like, no, I'm not sure. I'm just going to tell her I saw a tree. So when I told her I saw a tree, she was like, oh, yeah, she said, I was thinking about the tree of life. And I was like, it was a tree of life, but I was like insecure to tell you. It's funny because you just like when you're getting used to that world of understanding pictures and trusting in yourself, it's new for you, and you just kind of sometimes feel like, no, maybe it can't be that obvious, but it really is. It really is, you know? So, yeah, I do energy work. I call it energy work for when it comes to helping people understand and heal their energy centers, which are their chakras. And then I do Akashic record readings, which is the same as pretty much psychic readings. To me, I feel like it's the same as tarot without the cards. Basically, you're just accessing information from that person's pictures, their aura, and everything else. And then you're relaying them back to them because they don't trust themselves enough. So, anyway, I just thought I'd break that down. This is almost an hour now. If anybody has any questions or want me to expound further on something, or maybe I didn't explain something clearly. Maybe if you didn't understand something, you want a deeper explanation, let me know, and I'll do a video. Also, if there's anybody out there who's interested in testing out what I just described, let me know. We can do that too, even if it's on a video. So, thanks for joining my channel. It's going to be a variation of things here, but mostly I'm just sharing everything that I learned from my own experience so that I can help people to understand that they have the power within themselves to be everything that they need to be without having to rely upon a religion to validate you or make you feel safe. All right. I love you guys, and I will be speaking with you soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day.